Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to yet another reaction video. If you're new here for the first time, my name is Sidney and over here we talk reactions and reviews. Thank you so much for clicking on this video and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and let's go. What's goody everyone? Welcome back to the channel. And unfortunately you guys, I have some really sad news to report to you guys coming out of Las Vegas, Nevada. On Monday, you guys, Sidney Deal, 27 years old, is being charged with child abuse neglect with substantial bodily harm after his 21-month-old daughter, Saya Deal, was discovered in a Nissan Altima on 8th Street near West Owens Avenue and North MLK Boulevard. You guys, unfortunately, this little girl succumbed to injuries of heat exhaustion being left in a car. So just to read a little bit from this news report that I received from a subscriber. Thanks so much. Shout out to the subscriber that sent me this information. Y'all, it just really saddens me to read this to you. So I'm going to read two different things, you guys. I'm going to read to you the actual article, and then I'm going to read to you the declaration of arrest report written by the officers who reported to the scene. According to police officers, Deal flagged them down and said his daughter was accidentally locked inside a vehicle Monday afternoon around 3:30 p.m. When officers offered to call for a tow truck, locksmith, or break the car windows, Deal denied the request and instead used the officer's phone to call his brother, Samid Deal. The arrest report states that the officers waited several minutes for the tow truck to arrive and then broke out the back window of the car to remove Saya. They noticed she was unresponsive and called for medical personnel. The officers performed CPR, but paramedics pronounced Saya, and her name is spelled S-A-Y-A-H, so that could be Saya or Saha. I'm not really sure, you guys, but they pronounced her deceased at the scene, according to the report. Oh my God, y'all, this is just so sad. So basically, Sidney got into an altercation, verbal altercation with his girlfriend. At that point, the girlfriend basically put him and his daughter out. Sidney had custody of his daughter, Saya, and she asked for them to leave. And I guess what he did was usher them into the car, and then he must have believed that he left his phone, and he went back for his phone with the car still running. But he thought the air was on, but obviously it wasn't. If you guys know anything about Vegas, that's the desert. It gets deathly hot in Vegas. So what I'm going to do now, you guys, is I'm going to go ahead and read to you from the declaration of arrest report from the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. First, reading the initial call and details of this report. It gives the description of the vehicle, a 2015 Nissan Altima. It also gives the VIN number, which, you know, we don't need to say that here on this story because the VIN number is not really important right now. But the report starts off by saying on October 10th, 2020, at approximately 15:33 hours. Now, I'm just going to say, they said this happened on Monday. So today is only the 9th. So obviously the date is wrong in this report. Because if this happened on Monday, Monday's date was, let's see here, y'all. Let me pull up my calendar. Monday's date was the 5th. They have on the report October the 10th, 2020. Even if this report was written after the fact, while you guys are watching this video, today is only October the 9th. So there's something wrong right there. The date is wrong in this report. So it continues to say Officer E. Fields gives his badge number while operating as marked LVMPD patrol unit, gives the patrol unit number, was held down by a citizen near the address of 1719 H Street. The citizen, who was later identified as Sidney Deal, informed Officer Fields that he had accidentally locked the keys of his vehicle inside the car and left the vehicle running while his 1-year-old daughter, Saya Deal, was inside. Officer Fields offered to call for a tow truck, locksmith, or to break the window of the car, but Sidney denied the request and instead used Officer Fields' phone to call his brother, Samid Deal. After waiting for several minutes for the tow to arrive, Officer Fields and Officer J. Belinsky broke out the back window and made entry into the vehicle. Once Saya was removed from the vehicle, officers realized she was not responsive and asked for medical personnel to be assigned and dispatched to the call. Officers Field and Belinsky performed CPR while the paramedics were en route, but Saya was pronounced deceased upon fire paramedics arrived on scene. So the detectives did a follow-up. They interviewed Samid Deal. Now, Samid Deal is the brother of Sidney. Detective Hernandez and I conducted a digitally recorded interview with Samid, brother of Sidney. The following is just a summary. This is not verbatim. Samid stated he was first made aware of the incident when he received a phone call from an unknown number. Samid answered the phone call and heard his brother Sidney on the other line. Sidney told Samid he had accidentally locked Saya in his car, but the AC was on and he needed Samid to call his mother in order for her to call her insurance. Samid stated he was confused by the phone call and immediately started to get ready and drove to his brother's home. So he thought his brother was at home, but he was outside of the apartment that he shared with the girlfriend. As he arrived at the address, he found his brother Sidney outside the vehicle and questioned him about Saya. Sidney informed him she was okay and that he just needed to call their mother in order for her to request a tow truck or locksmith through her insurance. Samid said he immediately took his shirt off, wrapped it around his knuckles, and was ready to punch the window. Sidney stopped him and said he wanted to wait for a tow truck. Sidney insisted that he not damage his new vehicle, stating he had just bought the car and did not have the money to repair a broken window. Samid respected his brother's request to not damage the car and did not break the window. After a few minutes went by, Samid stated he handed Sidney his phone in order for him to call his mother. And Sidney held the police officer down. And once they wanted to go ahead and get permission to break his window, he said, no, let me call my brother because my brother can call my mother to get her insurance. Subsequently, this baby is sitting in the car, essentially melting, considering the heat in Vegas at 3:30 in the afternoon. It's very hot. And for what it sounds like, it's because he did not want to break the windows of his new car. And he rather get a tow truck to come or a locksmith because they would have a way of getting in the car without breaking the windows. So I'm trying to figure out, at no point did the police officers, did they not see this little girl in distress? Obviously, she had to show some signs of distress because even though he thought he had the air on, obviously, the air wasn't on, and the girl should have shown some type of signs of distress. Neither the father, the brother, or the police paid any attention to the fact that this girl had to been panting for air. After waiting for a tow truck and locksmith, patrol officers received a consent from Sidney to break his car window, and they entered the vehicle and removed Saya from the car. Sami described Saya as being unconscious once they removed her from the back seat, and he stated he consoled his brother as patrol officers conducted CPR. All right, so like I told you guys earlier, when we first started this story, there was a girlfriend, Sidney's girlfriend. Her name is Portia Henderson. Now they're talking to Portia because she's a part of this story. Detective Hernandez and I conducted a recorded interview with Portia, girlfriend of Sidney Deal. And this is also a summary. This is not verbatim. Portia identified herself as Sidney's longtime girlfriend and mother of 2 of his children. So it sounds like Sidney had a total of 3 children, and he had full custody of Saya, who was going on 2 years old. Even though she is not the biological mother of Saya, she has watched over Saya for the majority of her life, as Sidney has full custody of her. Portia stated she and Sidney got into an argument earlier in the day after he refused to help her with responsibilities around the home. She described the altercation as verbal only, but did admit to telling him and Saya to leave. Portia stated Sidney exited the home and she closed the door behind him. She witnessed him enter his vehicle and she went upstairs to continue with her morning task. After a few minutes, Sidney returned to the front door and knocked numerous times. Once she finally decided to answer the door, he informed her he had locked his keys inside the car and needed her to call a tow truck or locksmith. Portia did not want to open the door to her apartment, but spoke with Sidney through the window. As she called for a locksmith, Portia was able to show detectives her call log and showed she had called his insurance at 15:06. After being on the phone for 23 minutes, Portia stated the company informed them Sidney did not have roadside assistance, but could send a locksmith that would charge him before opening the car door. Sidney did not agree on the price and told Portia to hang up the phone. Portia then called Sidney's brother, Samid, and Sidney advised him of the incident. At that point, Portia went upstairs and did not exit her apartment until paramedics and patrol officers had arrived and Saya was removed from the car. Oh my God, y'all. Do y'all hear this? Do you hear how long these folks haggard on the fact of prices? Because again, he did not want to break the windows of his car, yet this whole time his daughter is sitting in the car. So this right here, the girlfriend said that she was on hold for 23 minutes. You guys already know when he came to the apartment, they argued back and forth. She said, Portia Henderson, the girlfriend, said that he knocked for a minute before she even decided to talk to him through the window. Time still ticking, and this little girl is sitting in a hot car that he thought the air was on and obviously was not. So now they have interviewed Sidney. So now I'm going to read to you guys the interview with Sidney. The officer states, I read Sidney his Miranda rights from the LVMPD, provided Miranda card, and he responded with a verbal, yes, I understand. When I asked him if he understood his rights, Sidney confirmed the details Portia gave and stated he did exit the apartment with Saya with the intent to leave the apartment and go spend the rest of the day with his brother. Sidney stated he placed Saya in the backseat of his vehicle on her car seat, but did not buckle her in. Once he turned the car on and turned the AC on, he realized he did not have his phone, so he returned to the door and asked Portia to bring him his phone. Sidney stated he argued with Portia for approximately 15 minutes until he agreed to give her a ring in exchange for his phone. When he went to his vehicle, he realized the car was locked. Sidney then went back to the apartment door and asked Portia to make the phone calls to the insurance, locksmith, and his brother. During this time, Sidney stated Saya was walking from the back seat to the front seat, but after a few minutes, she stopped moving and laid down on the floor bed. Oh my goodness. of the back seat. Sidney admitted to believing she had fallen asleep, but thought she was fine due to the vehicle's AC being on. Sidney also admitted that his brother and patrol officers offered to break the window of his vehicle, but he rejected the offer because he did not want to damage his newly purchased vehicle and wanted to wait for his mother's insurance company to send a tow truck in order to avoid a bill damage to his car. Y'all, that is a lot of information. So this little girl, it sounds like that this little girl was in the car for every bit of an hour before the police, the brother, or anybody ever showed up. Oh my goodness, y'all. So there's also an interview with Sidney's mother and another family member that I'm assuming may be a sister or someone in the family, where they caught the mother coming out of the courthouse after they had arraigned Sidney.
In that hearing, they mentioned that your son cared more about the window of his car than his daughter.
That's totally not true. The police officers were there when I spoke to him yesterday. He called me and the police officers were with him. And we were on FaceTime. And he asked the officers to help him. I said, did y'all check all the doors? Did y'all check everything? He said, yes. He said to the officers, he said, Mom, can you get a locksmith over here? I said to him, I said, okay, I'm going to call now. And then I heard the officers say, okay, she's sending it. Your mom's going to send it. It's all on body cam and everything. My son was not negligent with the way he handled it. It was not that he cared more about the car. He thought his daughter was in air. In air.
If the car was running, like...
The car was running, and she was in the car.
If it was something wrong with her right then and there, the cops would have broke the window.
How did Maya end up in the car?
He was in the backup. He was coming to get his phone from his girlfriend. When he went back to the car door was locked. That's when he started trying to get into the car. A cop was rolling past. He flagged the cop down. The cops got out, helped, assisted him with the car. And then when he said that the air was on, they was like, oh, okay. And someone was coming. A locksmith was coming. And that's what I know. And I still was trying to get to him. I was en route to him. So he works. My son is a great father. I don't know what's all of this about, what they were saying in the court, but he's a very responsible young man. Yes, he's 27. He has his own apartment, his own car, and he had full custody of his daughter. So he's very responsible because I raised him as such, because I'm a doctor and I have children as well and take care of my children. So they're not going to smear my son like he just was the average Joe Schmo out here, because he is not.
He didn't even show up in court.
Did Sidney say...
They basically has charged him with child neglect resulting in substantial bodily harm. My goodness, you guys. Based on information gathered on scene, the timeline comprised of call logs and witness statements, detectives have reason to believe Saya was in the car vehicle for over 60 minutes before patrol officers broke out the window and she was removed from the backseat floor. Based on the above fact and circumstances, Sidney Deal was placed under arrest for child neglect and transported to CDC, where he was booked accordingly. So, you guys, I hadn't even got to that part. And I just based off the information, it sounded like well over an hour before the police even arrived. So this little girl could have been saved if they didn't haggle around on price points because he didn't want his car damaged. And unfortunately now his baby girl is gone. She's deceased. Obviously, you guys, we don't know this man. We're just reading the details of this story. We listened to the interview and the mother said that he was a very good man. He took care of his kids. He worked. She raised him to be, a productive citizen of society. And it just sounded like, this everybody's a victim of circumstances. Sidney thought the air was on. It's obviously he was upset. He was moving fast. He was disturbed. And when he thought he turned the air on, obviously now everyone knows it wasn't on. And because he didn't want to damage his car and have to pay what, maybe $150 for a new window. He's now facing child neglect charges and having to bury his daughter. You guys let me know down below how you feel about the story. Please leave your thoughts, and I most definitely will see you guys in the next video. Remember, you guys, sub what you love. Bye-bye.